Man, what we just saw wasn't a blown play. It wasn't miscommunication. And it definitely was bad blocking. Because when a 300-pound offensive lineman gets flicked aside like a shopping cart on the most important down of the game, something's not right. The footage doesn't lie. 4th and 2, game on the line, and somehow, Cam Robinson, a veteran left tackle, stood there and let a defender push him like he was trying to get out of the way. No resistance, no technique, just moved. Analysts were in shock. Fans were screaming sabotage. And now, reports say Jimmy Haslam, the owner, has seen the tape and he's not letting it slide. But this isn't about one play. Because when you dig deeper, what starts as a missed assignment starts to look like something much worse, an intentional setup. A pattern. A quiet, coordinated effort to make Shadur Sanders look like the problem, when all he's done is survive chaos, carry the offense, and keep playing smart football with teammates who seem determined to drag him down. So what really happened on that play? Why are analysts calling it the worst sabotage yet? And why do more and more people believe Shadur is being set up to fail? Let's break it all down. If you haven't seen the play yet, fair warning, it's almost painful to watch. You don't have to be an X's and O's expert to know something was off. This wasn't a simple blown assignment, it was something else entirely. 4th and 2, game on the line, and then nothing. The Browns are in a must-convert situation. It's 4th and 2 against the Buffalo Bills, one of the league's toughest defenses. High-pressure moment, crowd buzzing, game hanging in the balance. The ball is snapped. Shadur Sanders drops back, eyes scanning the field. But what's about to happen has nothing to do with his throw, his read, or even his decision-making. Because before he can even complete his drop, something collapses immediately. Cam Robinson, one of the biggest men on the field, just stands there. And that's not an exaggeration. He stands there, arms barely up, letting a defender run right past him without a single ounce of resistance. We're talking about a 300-plus-pound offensive tackle, a man trained to engage, push, and protect, getting tossed aside like he was taking the snap off on purpose. Even the analysts couldn't believe their eyes. He got touched with a pinky and flew sideways. Come on, dog, are you serious? This looked like a man trying to let the defender through. Their reactions weren't speculation. They were stunned. They didn't say, "That was bad blocking." They called it sabotage. Literally. If Cam had been beaten by a finesse move or faked out by a spin, you could chalk that up to technique. But that's not what this was. He didn't even try. This looked like someone who wanted his man to get to the quarterback. Analysts agree. Make it look real at least. During a film review that has since gone viral, G. Bush and Earl the Pearl, both respected for their football analysis, broke the play down in slow motion. Their reaction? Shock turned into laughter, and then frustration. "If you're going to sabotage your quarterback," one said, "at least make it look real. You can't just stand there and let the man walk past." They were pointing to Cam Robinson's body language, no urgency, no effort, no instinct. And when two analysts who study game tape for a living look at a 4th down play and say, "This isn't a bad rep, this is a setup," you have to pause. Because that's not just a mistake. That's intentional-looking behavior. And in their words, it's not the first time something like this has happened with Cleveland's offensive unit. Not just one play, it's a pattern. The Cam Robinson play might have been the most obvious example yet, but the analysts made it clear they've seen this kind of thing before. Week after week. Play after play. Shadur Sanders getting hit late, pressured early, left on an island without protection from the very guys paid to have his back. And let's be real, for a rookie quarterback already under heavy scrutiny, every mistake is magnified. Every drive matters. Every missed block can spiral into something bigger. So what happens when your lineman doesn't just miss, but straight up doesn't engage? That's not just football anymore. That's something else, something darker. Sabotage or set up for failure? You could argue it was just a really bad play. Maybe Cam misread the pressure. Maybe he hesitated. But here's the thing, that excuse doesn't fly when it's this blatant. This isn't high-speed confusion at the snap. It's slow motion, one-on-one responsibility. He was in perfect position. He knew where the pressure was, and he chose to do nothing. When veteran analysts, guys who have reviewed thousands of hours of tape, say this looks intentional, that's not throwing shade. That's calling out a potential culture problem inside the locker room. And once you open that door, you start seeing the bigger picture. All eyes now on Jimmy Haslam. The Cam Robinson tape has reportedly made its way to the top of the organization. And according to multiple sources, Jimmy Haslam is not brushing it off. Rumors say he's stepping in personally, reviewing tape, questioning coaches, and considering personnel changes. When ownership gets involved with a single play review, it's clear the house is on fire. Why? Because this isn't just bad technique anymore, it looks like a threat to the team's future at quarterback. How can you evaluate a young talent like Shadur Sanders when his own linemen won't block? How can you ask him to lead this team when the people around him are giving up on plays before the ball is even released? Haslam reportedly saw the same thing we all did. A 300 lb lineman getting pushed with one hand. And whether it's true sabotage or just disgraceful effort, it embarrassed the organization. The internet reacts. This is where it crossed the line. After the footage aired, social media exploded. NFL fans, Browns loyalists, and even rival team supporters agreed this wasn't just business as usual. Twitter clips hit millions of views. The breakdown went everywhere. Hashtags like Save Shedeur and Sabotage in Cleveland started trending in sports circles. What fans saw with their own eyes couldn't be explained away as one bad snap. It looked like a setup. And finally, more people started asking hard questions. Why do these patterns keep happening? Why is no one being held accountable? And more importantly, how many other plays didn't get caught? Because if this is the one that finally broke the internet, then what else have we missed? What happened on that 4th and 2 wasn't just a one-off play. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't miscommunication. It was the latest and most obvious piece of a puzzle that's been quietly building behind the scenes. A pattern of sabotage around Shadur Sanders that's gone from speculation to something you can see with your own eyes. This has been boiling for months. The Cam Robinson play just confirmed it. Training camp clues, he was never set up to succeed. Let's rewind. Before the season even started, there were whispers. Why is the new quarterback not getting first-team reps? Why is Shedeur running drills with scout team backups and practice squad receivers? He was supposed to be a centerpiece draft pick, someone the franchise wanted to build around. And yet, during critical preseason tune-ups, Shedeur wasn't throwing to starters. He was throwing to guys who wouldn't even make the final roster. Equipment managers, parking lot personnel, practice fillers. Let that sink in. Analysts like G. Bush said it back then, and it didn't get enough attention. From day one, they treated Shedeur like a fill-in, not a franchise quarterback. And now, it looks like that bizarre camp behavior wasn't just neglect. It might have been the first step in this long, quiet effort to slow walk his development. Or worse, set him up to fail. Who's really calling the shots? Let's talk about Kevin Stefanski, the head coach everyone's been defending. This is the same coach that kept Deshaun Watson away from the media, juggled QBs like trading cards, and never made it clear what the actual plan was moving forward. Now, fans are asking the right question. Was he ever sold on Shadur Sanders? Or was the plan always to run out the clock on him? Because if you watch how this team operates, from bizarre route designs to conservative play calls to protection schemes that collapse before the ball is snapped, it doesn't look like a young quarterback being developed. It looks like one being boxed in. And every week the pattern becomes more obvious. Cam Robinson might have made it too obvious. What separates the Cam Robinson clip from everything else is how blatant it was. No disguise. No, maybe he got confused. Just a man ignoring his primary job in the most important moment of the game. And as wild as that sounds, it lines up with what analysts have been pointing out for weeks. Linemen giving up inside leverage without a fight. Receivers jogging mid-route. Running backs missing blitz pickups that a rookie would catch. Coaches calling pass plays with zero hot reads into known blitzes. You can't look at one or two of those things and cry conspiracy. But when these things happen again and again, and the guy under center keeps taking the heat while everyone else escapes accountability, you start connecting dots. Cam Robinson just gave the tape proof, but this pattern has been hiding in plain sight the whole time. Player attitudes and the locker room divide, rumor here, where things get deeper. There, been quiet talk in Cleveland that not everyone bought into Shedur's leadership when he arrived. Part of it was ego. Part of it was noise from critics saying he only got drafted because of his last name. NFL locker rooms are complicated, and when a new player walks in with publicity, endorsements, and pressure to be the face of the franchise, some veterans don't take kindly to that. By week 4, insiders reported growing friction in the locker room. Receivers complained about targets. Linemen were seen shouting on the sideline. And through it all, Shedeur never once publicly blamed anyone. He just kept playing. But now, after analysts broke down that Cam Robinson clip inch by inch, the theory suddenly has legs. This isn't bad football, this is indifference. And indifference is deadly when you're protecting a quarterback. G. Bush even said, the sabotagers are being exposed. Week after week, play after play. So why would they sabotage their own QB? Simple, because if Shedeur fails, the coaches and front office get a clean slate. They can say, "We tried, he wasn't ready." They can move on without blame, draft a new quarterback, buy themselves another year or two of job security. It's chess, not checkers. Let a few guys quietly tank a handful of plays here and there, and you can destroy a quarterback's stats, reputation, and public confidence, all before he ever gets a fair chance. And best of all, on paper, it just looks like rookie mistakes. But now, too many of these mistakes don't look random. They look calculated. The fans are waking up at first. People blamed Shedeur. Critics pointed to his numbers, blamed the losses on his inexperience, and argued the Browns should draft another quarterback next year. But after this week, after analysts slowed down the Cam Robinson play frame by frame and pointed out the complete absence of effort, even the most loyal fans are switching sides. Because when you watch a massive lineman get moved with a pinky and not react, when you watch talented receivers jogging through routes and dropping passes on their fingertips, and when a freshly drafted quarterback is throwing to literal unknowns in the preseason, it starts to make sense. They never gave him a chance. And the Cam play wasn't the start. It was just the first time they got caught. You know something's wrong when the analysts watching film can't keep their composure. This wasn't quiet analysis behind the scenes, this was raw disbelief on live breakdown shows. As G. Bush and Earl the Pearl watched the Cam Robinson play unfold frame by frame, it stopped being just football and turned into exposure. Because what they saw wasn't just an error. It wasn't bad technique. It was blatant, lazy, almost intentional. "Come on, dog, you can't be serious." Let's go back to what was actually said on the tape. G. Bush didn't hold back once the clip rolled. "If you're going to be sabotaging, make it look a little more real. Don't make it so obvious." That doesn't sound like a guy critiquing pass protection. That sounds like someone calling out a setup in real time. Earl echoed the same frustration. As they rewound the Cam clip over and over again, they weren't breaking down hand placement or footwork. They were stunned that a player even could perform this poorly without trying. Their message couldn't have been clearer. This wasn't a bad rep. This was a man standing on the field with no interest in doing his job, and everyone saw it. The Cam Robinson clip wasn't just a red flag, it was a confession in slow motion. A 300 lb lineman letting a man he's supposed to stop run past him, untouched, while the quarterback is seconds from release? That's not normal. That's someone who's either checked out, doesn't care, or is making a statement at someone else's expense. And would you like to guess who's paying the price? This kid has done everything right, still getting blamed. Shadur Sanders, a rookie QB playing in one of the most difficult situations in the league, somehow continues to be the guy fans, media, and critics toss under the bus. Every missed drive turns into Shedeur not it. Every loss becomes time to draft another QB. Meanwhile, he's out here dodging phantom blitzes, staring down free rushers, and trying to move the chains while the guys paid to protect him are actively ghosting blocks. It's like watching someone try to win a race with flat tires, and people blaming the driver, not the pit crew. Earl the Pearl brought it right back to the heart of the issue. The offensive line is atrocious, but the headlines never talk about them. All people want to do is blame the kid under center. That's why this analyst breakdown mattered, because it finally shifted the spotlight. It gave people permission to stop scapegoating Shedeur and start asking why the people around him keep failing week after week. Breaking down the sabotage in plain sight here, that's what the analysts pointed out across multiple plays, not just the Cam clip. Cam Robinson didn't even attempt to punch or slow his man. He got moved with a touch. Pocket collapses were coming in under 1.5 seconds. That's instant death for any quarterback. Receivers weren't finding separation. Even simple curl routes turned into contested throws. Blitz pickups were missed, even on basic alignments that should have been read pre-snap. And despite all of this, Shedeur still had moments. Still kept them in games. Still showed flashes of elite poise under pressure. That's where the real frustration came in. G. Bush said it best. He's doing things that don't show up on the stat sheet. He's keeping plays alive. He's adjusting protections. He's getting the ball out. And people don't even see it. It's one thing for a quarterback to struggle and have the stats to back it up. But when a young QB is reading defenses correctly, hitting checkdowns, recognizing coverages, and still gets blamed, it becomes clear. The agenda has nothing to do with his play. The Josh Allen comparison that exposes the double standard on the same weekend Shedeur was roasted for a slight inaccuracy on a pass to his running back, Another quarterback made the exact same throw. Josh Allen. One of the top QBs in the NFL. Same route, same slight underthrow. The difference? Allen's running back adjusted, made the grab, no one blinked. But when Shedeur did it and his guy didn't adjust, suddenly it was, bad throw, rookie mistake, he's not it. Earl called it flat-out disrespect. Could he have thrown a better pass? Sure. But if it touches your hands, you're supposed to catch it. That's football 101. It's a standard every NFL receiver understands. If it hits your hands, the blame's on you, unless you're on the Browns and the teams quietly decided who they want to take the fall. When the tape speaks louder than the stats as analyst tapes started flooding social media, fans began doing their own breakdowns. Slowed down clips of the same missed blocks, identical protection breakdowns, patterns of minimal effort on passing downs. It wasn't just bad plays. It was a pattern, and people were finally seeing it for themselves. Piece by piece, the media narrative started to crumble, and the real story started to take shape. Shedeur wasn't the problem, he was surviving the problem. And the Robinson play, that wasn't the scandal, that was the proof. Proof that others around him weren't just failing, they were letting him fail. On purpose? Maybe, but at this point, does it even matter? While the headlines scream failure and the critics circle like vultures, there's one thing that keeps getting lost. Shadur Sanders has quietly done everything right. Yes, he's a rookie. Yes, the stats don't always tell the full story. But when you actually watch the tape, when you really see the pressure he's under, it becomes impossible to blame him for what's happening in Cleveland. Because if most quarterbacks were stuck in this situation, with an O-line that gives up 2 seconds into the play, with receivers who can't get open with protection breakdowns every single drive, they'd fall apart, completely. Shedeur hasn't folded. And multiple analysts, including G. Bush and Earl the Pearl, are finally shining that light. He did everything you're supposed to do as a quarterback in the breakdown after the Bills game. G. Bush made one thing clear. I thought he did a really good job moving the ball. His first drive was strong, poised, confident. And even when the game wore on, he kept the offense moving when most guys would have checked out. He didn't make wild decisions. He didn't panic. He didn't try to be Superman and throw into double coverage. He made the right reads, took what the defense gave him, and moved the ball strategically. That's not flashy. It's not going to make highlight reels, but it's what real quarterbacks do. And when you take away the noise, that's all he's been doing, playing smart football in a system that's setting him up to fail. Earl took it a step further. You look at what he did in the first quarter: smooth pocket movement, clean release, reading safeties. He was dropping dimes. He saw the defensive coverages and knew exactly where the open space was. That's next-level football IQ. Underestimated athleticism, underappreciated poise. One of the most interesting shifts that's happened recently is the reevaluation of Shedeur's athleticism. Early scouting reports seemed unsure. They labeled him as a pocket guy. Not mobile, not elusive, just a traditional passer who'd need perfect protection to succeed. Turns out, they were dead wrong. Earl, who's been tracking Shedeur's development since college, said it flat out. He's sneaky athletic. He moves in the pocket better than people realize. He's stronger than people gave him credit for. The kid can extend plays, and he knows when to escape and when to stay in. That nuance matters, because playing behind this offensive line, you can't survive if your feet are slow or your instincts are off. And yet, week after week, Shedeur escapes pressure, resets his stance, and fires downfield under duress. That's poise. That's growth. And that's the stuff you can't teach. Yet the only thing people want to talk about is a missed throw here or a ball that was slightly behind the receiver. The Quinshon Judkins interception. The turning point. One moment in the Bills game became the scapegoat for Shedeur's critics. The pick intended for Quinshon Judkins. Social media lit up. Bad throw. Late release. That's on the quarterback. But when you pull back the emotions and listen to what the analysts said, the truth is a little different. G. Bush was clear. I don't think that interception was on Shedeur. People say it was a little behind him, but it hit his hands. You touch it, you catch it. End of story. He's not wrong. The ball placement wasn't perfect, but it was well within catchable range. In fact, Earl pointed to an immediate comparison that exposed the double standard. Literally the next play, Josh Allen threw the exact same ball, slightly behind the RB. But that guy adjusted and caught it. No one said a word. See the problem? One quarterback throws a pass that's slightly off, and it's just part of the game. Another does the same thing, and it's proof that he's not ready, that he's failing, that the team needs a new quarterback. That's not evaluation. That's agenda pushing. He's playing behind an offense that's crumbling around him. Let's zoom out. O-line, we've already seen the Cam Robinson scandal. That block wasn't just bad, it was intentional non-effort. Receivers. Jerry Jeudy, the supposed WR1, has basically disappeared. One analyst straight up asked, "Did Jeudy even play today?" Play calling? Vanilla. Predictable. Repetitive. Designed more for game management than actual development. Practice reps? Forget about it. The man was throwing to random third stringers during camp while others got first-team snaps. And yet, despite all of that, analysts are still giving Shedeur credit for his awareness, his feel for pressure, and his effort. Earl dropped the hammer. You got dudes out there air blocking. Shedeur's out there fighting for his life every snap. And he's still putting together drives, still showing resilience. At some point, we need to stop pointing at him and start pointing at the people around him. This is what franchise quarterbacks look like under fire. Here's the truth most people don't see. Greatness doesn't show up just in clean pockets and perfect throws. It shows up in the mess, in the pressure, in the chaos. And what Shedeur's showing, despite the dysfunction around him, is that he has the mindset, maturity, and toughness to grow into something special if he's given the chance. But that's the problem, right? He hasn't been given a real chance. Every step of the way, it's been resistance. From training camp to game scripts to missed blocks and dropped passes, it's felt like the people around him aren't trying to help. They're just trying to survive, or worse, trying to see him fail. And that is why this conversation matters so much right now. Because every week Shedeur improves, outplays his critics, and proves he belongs, while the system around him tries to drag him down. At some point, that has to stop. By now, you've seen the pattern. You've seen the missed blocks, the air protection, the fourth down that looked more like a stage play than real football. But buried beneath all that, there's an even deeper problem that's been quietly tearing this team apart. It's not just the offensive line. It's not just one embarrassing play. It's the entire culture around Shadur Sanders that's starting to crack. And when you zoom out and look at what's happening, from his receivers to the offensive schemes to the silence from the coaching staff, it starts looking a lot less like growing pains and a lot more like a system designed to hold him back. Where are the playmakers? Let's start with the receivers. You'd think with a young quarterback stepping into the spotlight, the team's top weapons would be stepping up, building chemistry, overperforming to make up for rookie hiccups. That's not what's happening. In fact, analysts are asking the question fans have been whispering all season. Did Jerry Jeudy even play today? He was supposed to be the guy WR1, a route technician, a former first-round pick. But instead of making headlines for game-breaking plays, Jeudy is becoming a ghost. He's not getting separation. He's vanishing in key moments. And when the ball does find him, the effort feels half-hearted. That's not just bad luck. That's a reflection of motivation or lack of it. And it's not just Jeudy, it's the whole unit. As G. Bush pointed out in a recent breakdown, the Browns' wideouts haven't been fighting for the ball, haven't been grinding through contact, and sure as hell haven't been helping make their quarterback look good. We've got receivers out here with hands like snakes. They won't catch anything. No reliable release off the line, no fire. And when your wideouts won't make plays on catchable balls, now we've got a different conversation. Do they even respect the quarterback they're playing with? Coaching staff on cruise control. Now let's talk about the other side of the sabotage, the coaches. Because while everyone is pointing fingers at the obvious, the missed blocks, the interceptions, no one's asking why the system hasn't changed. Since the preseason, Kevin Stefanski has been under fire for one specific pattern, underfeeding Shedeur real reps. Back in training camp, we saw something no one could wrap their heads around. Shedeur wasn't working with the starters, wasn't getting consistent time with the first-team offense. He was out there throwing to glorified side characters, guys who didn't make the 53-man roster. And now, we're seeing the consequences. Poor chemistry, miscommunication, timing off on routes, trust gaps between quarterback and receiver. How exactly is a rookie supposed to develop when he's not even practicing with the people he's supposed to lead? This goes beyond scheming. This looks like organizational neglect. Or worse, a quiet intention to have Shedeur look bad from the beginning so the team can justify moving on. And here's where it gets really frustrating. Blame the quarterback, hide the others. Let's recap what the game tape shows. Receivers not adjusting to balls they could have caught. Linemen not finishing blocks or identifying assignments. Running backs missing obvious blitz pickups. An offensive play caller using vanilla protection schemes and refusing to adapt to pressure. And yet, it's Shedeur who ends up as the scapegoat on Sports Center? Why? Because it's easier to blame one guy than fix 10 problems. But fans are finally catching on. Because when a rookie quarterback shows decent pocket presence, processes reads quickly, avoids turnovers, and still gets torn apart for other people's failures, something doesn't add up. Even the analysts are stunned by the lack of accountability. Earl the Pearl summed it up during their post-game breakdown. You got a kid showing leadership, showing resilience, adjusting to the defense, and he's not getting any help. And still people acting like the answer is bench him. Let that sink in. When people watch tape of a 22-year-old quarterback pulling veteran-level adjustments in the pocket without a clean line or dependable targets, and the only reaction is draft someone else, you're not watching evaluation. You're watching narrative control. And the coaching staff, dead silent. No one calling out effort. No one pushing accountability in press conferences. No one standing up and saying, our QB deserves better. That silence is loud. Because when a group of grown men, paid millions to do their job, are failing consistently, and the only person who takes the blame is the youngest guy in the room, that's a culture issue. A broken system, or a calculated move? Let's ask an uncomfortable question. What if this is all on purpose? What if Kevin Stefanski knows Shedeur is his guy? What if the front office is already eyeing their next quarterback? What if the safest thing for the staff's job stability is to make it look like Shedeur was the one who couldn't cut it? It sounds wild until you actually look at how the team is playing. He hasn't been given a real chance. And now, we've got tape of plays where teammates don't even try to help him succeed. That's not sloppiness. That's pattern-level dysfunction. Cam Robinson exposed it. The receivers confirmed it. The coaching staff's silence amplifies it. And the fans, they're finally starting to wake up to it. When it comes to NFL franchises, most front office drama never sees the light of day. Decisions get made quietly. Coaches get warned behind closed doors. Players get benched with no explanation. But in Cleveland, things just got loud. Because when Jimmy Haslam, an owner known for staying in the background, suddenly steps into the spotlight, something's seriously wrong. And according to multiple league insiders, Haslam saw the Cam Robinson footage, just like the rest of the football world. And he wasn't just disappointed, he was furious. Unacceptable, the word going around the front office. Sources around the team say the tone behind the scenes has shifted. Haslam reportedly called the film unacceptable, not just from a football performance perspective, but in terms of what it implies. Because here's what that 4th and 2 play symbolized to the man signing the checks: a young quarterback trying to lead a broken huddle, a veteran lineman standing stone still while chaos unfolds, a coaching staff that didn't react, didn't correct, didn't even comment. And more than anything, a failure of accountability. Haslam sees it for what it is, not just a bad play, but a possible sign that people inside his building aren't committed to the player he just invested in. And make no mistake, he did invest in Shadur Sanders. Financially, strategically, publicly. So now he wants answers. The rumors, firings coming, cuts on the table, the whispers are already growing louder. Some inside league circles say Cam Robinson's job may already be gone. The only reason it hasn't been announced is because legal and contract decisions are being handled behind closed doors. Other names are reportedly being floated too. From linemen, who have shown repeated lack of effort, to receivers, who have privately voiced frustration with Shedeur, even assistant coaches who failed to build chemistry with him during camp. Nobody's safe now. Insiders say Haslam's message is simple: you either protect this kid or you're out. Because from his viewpoint, this isn't just about this season. It's about what you're building. And if you can't evaluate your quarterback fairly, if you can't create an environment where your first-round QB can grow, then everything else falls apart. This isn't just a football emergency. It's a franchise credibility crisis. Why Haslam's reaction might be the turning point for weeks, fans screamed at TV screens. Analysts pointed out flaws. Shedeur supporters online begged for someone in leadership to step in. And now they finally might have an ally at the top. Haslam is one of the few people with enough power and nothing to lose to start clearing out the people dragging this team down. He's not under contract. His seat isn't hot. He's not worried about media optics. He's looking at the thing that matters most to owners: return on investment. Imagine dropping tens of millions into a quarterback prospect, only to watch your own team sabotage his development 3 plays at a time, and then try to blame him for your own failures. This isn't just poor management. It's potentially self-sabotage at the organizational level. And now, Haslam's reportedly done playing the waiting game. From corporate owner to enforcer, the NFL is a business. But Jimmy Haslam didn't become a billionaire by watching his investments get destroyed from within without stepping in. He's made bold moves before. He's fired front office leaders mid-season. He's replaced coaching staffs after 1 year. He does not wait for things to collapse. When he sees structural failure, he doesn't hesitate to blow it up. And if he believes what's happening to Shedeur is more than just miscommunication, if he sees it as an intentional effort to downplay the quarterback and shift blame his way, heads will roll, and it might happen fast. Remember this moment. It's the line in the sand. There's a reason this moment feels different. Because up until now, the people sabotaging Shedeur were comfortable. They were protected by a system of silence. Missed blocks were buried under bad stat lines. Dropped passes became rookie inaccuracy. Coaches skated by because the quarterback was easy to criticize. But once ownership steps in, that protective bubble pops. Suddenly, every lineman is on notice. Every receiver who coasted through routes, under the microscope. Every position coach who sat by quietly while Shedeur slung the ball to practice squad foot soldiers in camp, that leash just snapped tight. Because when the owner starts watching the film himself, no one can hide anymore. As one insider put it, the message is clear. This season may not be about winning games anymore. It's about finding the traitors. What happens next? That's the big question. Because now that Haslam is reportedly digging into personnel decisions himself, the next few weeks may expose even more dysfunction inside the locker room. Will Cam Robinson be released or benched? Is Jerry Jeudy's effort level being re-evaluated? Will coaching roles be restructured by season's end? More importantly, will Shedeur finally get the support he was supposed to have all along? Because right now, the one person carrying himself like a professional despite all the noise is the one being sabotaged week after week. And Haslam might be the only one powerful enough to stop it. But here's the twist. This cleansing won't be quiet. It's going to be messy, public, emotional. And if the people protecting Shedeur have also been silent up until now, it's likely a lot more shoes are about to drop. Let's take a step back. After everything we've seen, the air blocks, the confusion, the dropped passes, the passive routes, the blatant fourth down collapse, there's still one person standing tall in Cleveland. One guy who hasn't flinched, hasn't blamed anyone, hasn't cracked under pressure. That's Shadur Sanders. And the fact that he's still standing is more than impressive, it's almost impossible. Because any other young quarterback thrown into this situation, they'd be buried by now, mentally shaken, benched, checked out, blamed. Forgotten, not Shedeur. He's shown something that no stat line can explain, mental toughness. And more importantly, leadership. Most would break. He didn't. Think about what he's been through in just a few months. Drafted into a confused locker room with no clear vision. Given second-string reps during crucial training camp scrimmages. Thrown behind an offensive line that's more interested in air blocking than actual pass protection. Receivers half-running routes or vanishing in the biggest moments. Coaches refusing to adapt the play calling when pressures are flooding in. Every single piece of that is a career killer to most rookies. And yet, Shedeur hasn't just survived it. He's competed through it, adapted through it, improved through it, not dramatically. Not in ESPN-style highlight bursts, but quietly. Gradually, like a professional, he's playing the long game, and that's dangerous for the people hoping he'd fold. The word, moxy. You want to know what Shedeur's showing? Moxy. That rare, unteachable trait that high-level QBs have, where they just refuse to panic. Analyst G. Bush summed it up perfectly during a film review of the Bills game. You look at the numbers and they don't tell the story. You watch the plays, though, you see Shedeur maneuvering out of pressure, resetting his feet, delivering calm throws in chaos. That kid's got moxy. Lot more than people realize. There's no panic in his body language, no finger pointing. Just a guy staying calm in the eye of a storm. Even Earl the Pearl, who doesn't throw praise around lightly, admitted it. He extends plays with subtle movement. He doesn't run just to run, he steps up, slides, keeps his eyes downfield. That's high-end quarterback play. There's veterans in this league who still can't do that consistently. So when people say Shedeur isn't ready, maybe what they really mean is, he's not falling apart the way we expected him to. And that scares some people. The stats lie. The tape doesn't. If you're looking at Shedeur's stat lines week after week and thinking, he's average, stop looking at numbers in isolation. The film tells the truth. And what the tape shows is a quarterback, throwing accurate passes under duress, trusting crumbling protection just long enough to deliver strikes. adjusting to complex coverages with limited help from his staff, leading touchdown drives after his own defense and special teams put him in impossible field position. You try doing that. You try standing in the pocket when a 300 lb blitzing linebacker is coming unblocked because your lineman didn't even try to slow him down. And still, Shedeur hasn't melted. He hasn't run to the sideline yelling. He hasn't gone to the media blaming teammates. He hasn't hinted at quitting or sitting out. Instead, he's showing up, doing the work, running the film, taking the hits, and still slinging passes from a shrinking pocket with composure beyond his years. And that is what's shaking the narrative. Because if your plan was to show people Shedeur wasn't NFL ready, he's doing a damn good job of proving you wrong without saying a single word. He doesn't need to be a superstar yet, he just needs a team that tries, and that's the real tragedy here. He's not asking for perfection. He's not demanding an elite line or Pro Bowl receivers. All Shadur Sanders needs to thrive at this stage in his development is effort. That's it. Guys who care. Coaches who coach. Teammates who support instead of sabotage. But right now, he's getting neither. He's playing chess while the rest of the team pretends they're still in warm-ups. And yet somehow he continues to execute. To learn. To grow. That's not talent. That's character. And in case anyone forgot, character wins long-term games in this league. The NFL is watching. And they're taking notes. You don't think other GMs, coaches, and coordinators are watching this. You don't believe analysts across the NFL aren't aware of what's happening in Cleveland? They see it. They see a quarterback showing real tools and real maturity under fake accountability. They see how he's being surrounded by failure and blamed for outcomes he can't control. And most importantly, they're watching how he doesn't flinch. That's the kind of trait NFL teams break the bank for. That's the kind of player you build a franchise around. If you think the Cam Robinson play was the end of the story, the gotcha moment that finally woke everyone up, think again. That wasn't the climax. That was just the first real crack in the wall. Because as ugly as that fourth down block was, there's still more happening beneath the surface. And according to multiple sources, that wasn't the only play people are reviewing. It was just the one that went viral. Whispers in the locker room. He's not the only one now that Cam Robinson is under the microscope. Insiders say he's not the only name being mentioned behind closed doors. Film analysts are combing through tape from the last 5 games, calling out other linemen with similar effort level concerns. Jumping too slow at the snap. No second effort on inside moves. Picking the wrong man to block consistently. Watching the pocket collapse and just standing there. One phrase keeps coming up in these breakdowns. That's not a missed assignment. That's someone choosing to let it happen. And that's not speculation anymore. That's game film evidence. Receivers under review. Hands like a snake isn't a compliment. It's not just the offensive line being questioned either. Analysts are now calling out receivers who aren't finishing routes, aren't making adjustments on passes, and aren't fighting for the ball. We're talking about simple plays, curls, digs, outs, where receivers stop short, turn late, or don't track the ball to the ground. One team insider summed it up like this. They're making Shedeur look bad, and it's not by accident. That's not rookie quarterback mistakes, that's veteran teammates checked out. And we have to ask the obvious question, why? Why would veterans on a struggling offense intentionally back off? Why would players with everything to gain from a successful quarterback be part of a culture of silence and underperformance? Unless it's already been decided internally that Shedeur's time is temporary, that he's just a placeholder until the next shiny quarterback prospect comes along. If that's even partially true, we're not just witnessing dysfunction. We're witnessing a manufactured downfall. Sabotage by design, or just quiet collusion. Let's be clear, not everything in Cleveland is a conspiracy. Bad teams do bad things every Sunday. But what makes this situation different is the sheer consistency of the failure patterns. Week after week, you see the same breakdowns, same unblocked rushers off the edge, same wideouts fading out of plays, same coaching staff giving monotone excuses during pressers. As soon as fans start asking questions, as soon as analysts raise concerns, the blame always falls back on the one man showing up in the fire, Shadur Sanders. Every week he missed the throw. He held the ball too long. He didn't recognize the coverage. But what about the corner blitz that never got picked up? What about the post pattern that broke a full second late? What about the lineman letting go of his block before the ball is even out? It's all right there on tape. And the people who know football, they're starting to talk. Dozens of them. Who's next? And here's where the real cliffhanger comes in. If Jimmy Haslam is really taking this personally, if his evaluation process has just begun, then Cam Robinson might only be the first domino to fall. We're talking starting receivers, offensive linemen, even assistant position coaches who haven't stepped in when issues reached a boiling point. The Browns' front office knows the public is watching now. For the first time, they can't hide the dysfunction under blanket rookie QB excuses. It's out there, the analysts are on it, the fan base is outraged, the media has their teeth sunken, and ownership, they're on a search and destroy mission. But here's the problem for the people responsible. Shedeur isn't folding. He's still calm, still composed, still making smart throws despite chaos around him. And every time he shows that level of poise, every time he plays above the noise, he exposes all the people working quietly against him. Because if your plan was to destroy the rookie narrative with pressure, confusion, and effortless line play, and he still doesn't crack, then your whole operation falls apart. And that's exactly what we're watching now. The fix was in, but it's getting unfixed in real time. By now, you've seen the evidence, the missed blocks, the half-run routes, the blank stares from linemen mid-play, the coaching staff that seems allergic to adjusting. And at the center of it all, Shadur Sanders, still grinding, still calm, still standing. So here's the real question no one wants to say out loud. Was this a case of a rookie quarterback facing growing pains? Or was this a coordinated campaign to make sure he never had a chance to grow at all? Because let's be honest, bad football happens. Ups and downs are part of every young quarterback's journey. But what we're seeing in Cleveland, it's starting to look like something calculated. How else do you explain a 300 lb lineman getting flicked aside with one hand in the biggest moment of the game? How do you explain a coaching staff that treated their new quarterback like a practice dummy during camp, giving him targets from the parking lot while the real team trained without him? How do you explain a wide receiver core that shows up in name only and drops catchable balls while putting in C-tier effort all over the field? You watch this tape and it doesn't feel like growing pains. It feels like someone wanted this to fail, and that makes the stakes even higher. Because this isn't just about Shedeur anymore. This is about culture, about locker room trust, about whether this franchise is willing to support their quarterback or bury him. And now people are paying attention. Analysts, fans, ownership, other players, other teams, the lights are on. And whether you call this sabotage, incompetence, or just years of bad leadership finally cracking in the spotlight, this story is only getting bigger. So now it's your move. What do you think? Was Cam Robinson's play a freak mental lapse, or was it proof that something shady is happening behind the scenes? Do you think Shedeur's struggles are about his development, or about the people around him dragging him down? And if Jimmy Haslam is really serious about cleaning house, who goes next? Cam? Judy? Stefanski? Use the comments and sound off. Was that play a mistake or a straight-up setup? Should Haslam start cutting players mid-season? Is Shedeur the guy, and if so, how long before the league sees it? Drop your takes below. I'm reading every comment, and trust me, the people watching this story are too. And if you've made it this far in the video, you're part of the family now. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on notifications because this isn't over. Not by a long shot. When Jimmy Haslam makes his next move, when Shedeur silences another wave of critics on the field, I'll be here breaking it all down. Until next time, keep the vision. I'm out. Peace.